All right, thanks for tuning in once again. It's Ishmael Sistrunk from the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com here with Palmer Alexander III, our Rams Roundup correspondent. Palmer, the St. Louis Rams had their second preseason game this weekend against the Tennessee Titans. They fell 27-14 to the Titans. I personally did not see the game. I had to be at a funeral and missed that entire day. But from what I hear, the Rams were not very impressive. What happened? Did they lose all the fight from that fight in Dallas? Did that take all the energy out of them, or were they just not prepared for this football game?
Yeah, they just wasn't prepared for the football game, and uh, I think people are just getting tired of looking at this. I mean, this is just the same old. And this is Jeff Fisher fourth season as the head coach of the St. Louis Rams, and there's just no excuse for them to not be prepared. And I don't want to hear people saying, "Well, it's just a preseason game." They just gotta they have to eliminate some of this stuff that's going on because they have no shot of having to win the season continuing on in this manner. I mean, Trey Mason barely got any touches. I didn't think he got into any flow. Tavon Austin didn't even touch the ball. The offensive line was absolutely awful. The defense, they rather knock you out instead of wrap you up and try to tackle somebody. Didn't see any sacks, and even despite the fact that Chris Givens had the 80-yard touchdown pass, I mean Case Keenum was 7 for 16. I mean the only bright spot on the offense was Trey Watts with five rushes for 63 yards. But again, he's going to get third or fourth string guys. But I'm very disappointed in the number ones. Very disappointed in that offensive line. Very much so. And if they don't stop this, Ishmael, uh, Nick Foles could wind up airlifted to a hospital because this is not good.
Well, and I think that's the key right there is the offensive line is really going to be the key. Now, I am one of those people who I don't really get too worried about preseason football. I mean, if you're going to struggle, if you're going to have holes that you need to fix, preseason is the time to have those holes. Preseason is the time to uh, to play subpar football, and then you want to round together by the time the season starts. So I'm not overly concerned right now. I'm not going to say, hey, man, the season is lost because this is still the preseason. That said, we knew all off season that the offensive line is really going to be key. They got a new quarterback coming in. They got a new running back. He's going to start the season injured, but they have him. They also have Trey Mason, who did a good job last season, but none of that works without a competent offensive line. And they're very young, and that's the biggest question on the team. So do you think the offensive line can improve? Is there areas there where they can get better, or are they just completely lost and it looks like a lost cause?
I mean, they can get better, but at what risk? At the risk of losing the quarterback that you just traded for, that you signed this extension? I mean, they just getting totally beaten badly. And it just seems like no sooner than the Rams get the football, they are already punting the ball. And they're just not getting the job done. That's what really concerned me is that Jeff Fisher, to a degree, drafted 4 or 5 offensive linemen and just said, okay, here you go. We got brand new offensive linemen. Yeah, they big, but they lack athleticism. They lack discipline. I mean, Greg Robertson was looking lost in the game against the Tennessee Titans, and Brandon Washington, as much smoke they've been blowing up everybody's backside about how good he is, he spent most of the game looking like a sprayed roach on his damn back. I mean, they got to do better than that, man.
That's funny. And, one thing that I did notice is that the Rams' first team only averaged 2.4 yards per carry while they were in the game. That is completely unacceptable. Also, the defense, which is really supposed to be the strong part, allowed 5.7 yards per carry on the defensive end. So the Rams really need to get the rushing game together on both sides of the ball. We know that Jeff Fisher, his idea of Rams football now is to be able to run the ball, to be able to control the clock. But if you can't run it and you can't stop the run, that whole strategy kind of goes up in flames.
Yeah, no, not only that, but just the lack of execution on defense. They're not going to get a free pass either. A poor gap assignment. Talk about it all the time. Poor gap assignment, poor tackling. Everybody is going for the kill shot instead of just wrapping somebody up and giving yourself the opportunity to put somebody in the third and long and then be able to get something done. They hardly got any kind of pressure on Marcus Mariota. And by the way, you got Robert Quinn assessed with a 15-yard penalty for unnecessary roughness, hitting him in the head after James Laurinaitis already had him in the grasp. Again, these are just stupid penalties. These stupid penalties shouldn't even be happening. And it's happening in Jeff Fisher's fourth preseason year. Pardon me, his fourth year as head coach of the Rams, and it just shouldn't be happening. And the reason why you're getting this kind of reaction out of me, and not just me, but anybody that's been watching this team, is that you just get sick and tired of looking at this. And by the way, going back in 2013, for example, they had two 3-game loser streaks, and then they lost 2 games in a row in the month of December. Last year, they started out the season losing 3 of their first 4 games, and then they end the season on a 3-game loser streak. At some point, this team has to turn a corner with Jeff Fisher as the head coach, and it's just not happening. It's not happening, and we're just I'm getting tired of looking at it.
Well, what do you think about the next game? They have the Indianapolis Colts coming into town for the third preseason game. Do you think there's a chance of them bouncing back and showing a little more? We generally see that the third and the fourth preseason games are when the starters really get a little bit more play, especially the third. Sometimes the fourth they sit them down early, but that third preseason game is when you see the most of the first team offense. So, what do you expect to see from the St. Louis Rams against the Colts?
Well, I expect them to come out and get something going. They need something positive to be able to carry over. It's not so much about winning the game. It's about the way they go about trying to execute some of these plays. And for Frank Signetti being the new offensive coordinator, he better come up with something that actually works on the football field because he's not going to have that long of a leash. The Rams, they have labored offensively for almost 12 years. They have labored offensively for almost 12 years, and you can't win unless you score. And you can't keep putting this defense out on the field because you can't get 1 or 2 first downs, string together some sort of a drive. It's just that they have to gain some kind of confidence, and they're lacking in. They can say all the right things and they're saying all the right things, but they're just not executing. They're just not executing whatsoever.
So Palmer, if you're the coach and we're giving you the ball to run with here, we say, Palmer, you need to uh, tell us 3 things that the Rams need to do to win. What are they?
First of all, win the battle at the offensive line. I mean, that's the most important thing. You want to keep your quarterback upright as much as possible, especially after again they invested this money into Nick Foles. The other thing is that you want to control the defensive side of the ball. They got little to no penetration. They poor gap assignment again. Laurinaitis again jumping up in the wrong lanes as usual, playing peekaboo, and then you letting this guy Hanky ran all over the Rams defense. The Rams gave up almost 5 yards per carry. I mean that's not going to keep you in ball games. They're going to have you playing from behind. And thirdly, they just got to execute better. And when it comes to route running, Nick Foles threw a costly pick six. And then also, Mark Barron had a pass hit him squarely in the hands on defense. He came up, showed the blitz, bailed back into coverage, ball hit him in both of his hands, and he wasn't able to hang on to the football. I mean, you got to make that plays. But those little things like that is the reason why the Rams are stuck where they are. And they won't get anywhere. They think they're tough, and they think they can kick people ass, but they're not doing nothing in the win and loss column because that's where it all counts. You got to start winning games. Nobody cares anymore about these you guys winning the fights. You better start winning games.
Yeah, and that'll be the key. And we've seen that come back and burn the Rams before, where they like to tussle, they like to fight, they like to do this and that. But you really need to be physical within the rules. Instead of getting penalties, you need to be getting points. So hopefully they can make that turn this year. Again, for me, I'm not overly concerned about the preseason because it's still preseason. There's still a lot of time before the season starts where they can get those things together. But the fact that the offensive line is really struggling, that's a red flag because we knew that that was going to be, if there's an area where they're really going to struggle, the offensive line is going to be that area. So hopefully they'll be able to get that together. Those young guys will be able to hold it together. They'll be able to stay injury free. But you never know. That seems like the weak link for the Rams team.
Weak link, missing link, sausage link, all the links, man. They gotta get together.
All right, Palmer. Well, we'll keep this short. But is there anything else? I know we talked about the relocation in a recent video, but is there any new news on that front?
No, I mean nothing happening right at the moment. By the way, people, check out the latest podcast on In the Zone. Has Shane Gray from InsideSCA.com talk more about Robert Shaft and some of the things that are happening at the state level as he's trying to slow down this process because he doesn't want this stadium to happen. So subscribe to In the Zone, listen to the podcast, and also we had Ryan Kuhn on, and also I opened the show with my blistering expletive monologue, which I have so much fun doing, Ishmael.
Yeah, we get censored Palmer on here. You know, the St. Louis American's a family paper, so we really can't do the full all-out Palmer. But on the podcast, you know, I know they let you let loose. So definitely check Palmer out on there. Also to Shane and to Ryan, you know, hey to those guys. Those are some good guys. So make sure you follow them and listen to what they're saying. Palmer, what do you got up this week in the St. Louis American?
Well, what I got coming up this week, I focus more so on Jeff Fisher and just what I just didn't like about this game. And I hit on a few things today during this Rams Roundup. But read between the lines, people. Read between the lines where I'm going with this. And again, I try to give the people a different angle as there's so much competition in this market. I'm just taking a different path to the quarterback, and I'm going to sack him.
And I know we got some heat coming, Palmer, because you told me earlier that you had to wait before you wrote your column. Whenever you tell me, man, I just had to sit and I had to wait until the next day to write my column. I know that fire is coming, that you had to hold back the real fire and give us that censored fire, but it's still gonna be hot, so I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, looks like Palmer is hung up a little.
No,
Oh,
no,
go
no.
ahead.
I made sure that I did a good job of articulating my message in a colorful way. And I know that you guys in the editorial meetings have something to smile about once you read what I got, but I learned how to tiptoe around that.
All righty. Well, any last things that you want to point out to our readers before we sign off, Palmer?
No, but make sure you follow St. Louis America, subscribe to our YouTube page. We're trying to give you the best coverage in St. Louis, and we're just going to keep on giving it to you because you deserve the best.
Absolutely. All right. So once again, I'm Ishmael Sistrunk from the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com. Here with Palmer Alexander III. Like he said, make sure you check us out on the website. Check us out all over social media. We're everywhere trying to give you the latest coverage on the St. Louis Rams, other St. Louis sports, and the national sports. But for this week, that's all we got. Rams, please do better. I don't want to deal with angry Palmer next week. So please do better. We'll see you next week. Peace.
All right.